Shalom, brothers and sisters who have arrived here on this channel. I promise you that until the end of this video, you will understand why I chose this thumbnail for this video. Jubilee wants popcorn. I believe that by the end of this video, you will understand and you'll find God amazing for this. But the main thing that I want to say to you in this video is on the title. There won't be another moment like this for another 50 years or even more. The moment that we are right now, it's so amazing, so unique, and there are so much convergence for it being the last moment of the year as well, that it is just too much for us to not believe it will definitely be what we have been expecting to be the rapture of the church. The rapture of the church and the deliverance from this earth, the rescue of the bride, to be with the groom in the wedding supper of the Lamb. That's the moment that we have been expecting for over 7 years, and now we are reaching here the end point that we can already see. It's right ahead of us. I haven't seen anybody in English channels talk about this. That's why I'm gonna be showing you guys something completely amazing and how God confirmed it to me. Even on the previous live stream in Portuguese, it will be utterly amazing, guys. So stick with me here, then I'm gonna show why this is so awesome and why Jubilee also wants some popcorn. Alright, so let's come here and talk about what is a Jubilee. What is a Jubilee that we are talking about? Of course, we're talking about the Bible. The Jubilee in the Bible, it is the following year after the 7th Shemitah cycle. So, a Jubilee year is the year following after the 7th Shemitah cycle. So, one Shemitah cycle is 7 years. So, every 7 years we have one Shemitah, one cycle. The last of the 7 year is a sabbatical Shemitah year. And then after 7 Shemitah cycles, so 7 times 7 years, we have 49 years, and the Jubilee is the year 50, or the 50th year. So that's the Jubilee for us. So if a Jubilee happens every 50 years, so if we start counting from the day of creation, we always get this. So it starts in 0, and then 50 more years is 50, then 100, 150, and so on until 2000, 4000, 6000, and 7000. As you can see here, because the Jubilee year is always the 50th year, it will always end with 0, counting from the creation date. So it's always a 0 to 50, 150, 2000, 4000, 6000, and so on. That's very important for you to understand, because I want to talk about the year that we just passed, the year 5782. The year 5782 is a very important year because this year we just passed here in October. Let me just fix here this real quick. Because okay, let's go back here now. So the year 5782, we just crossed it because the 5782 started on the 20th of October 2021 and ended on 26th of October 2022. That's when the year 5782 fits. 5782 is accordingly the date for the Jewish year. So if we go here to the Jewish calendar, you will see that they are calling that we are now at 5783, but on September for them, that we know they are already 1 month in advance. In September for them, it was the year 5782. So we just passed this year, this Jewish year called 5782. And this is very important for us. Why? Because if you get this year 5782 and you divide by 7, you get a whole number, the number 826, which is a whole number. What does that mean for us? That means that 5782 is the seventh year of a cycle, because it is divisible by 7, which means it is a Shemitah year, the sabbatical year, the 7th year of the cycle of 7. That's very significant for us as well. But even more significant is that 5782 also is divisible by 49, which is 7 times 7. That means for us that most likely the year 5782 is the 49th year of the cycle, because it is divisible by 49, giving it a whole number. What does that mean for us? That means for us that the year that we are right now, 5783, that started on the 27th of October 2022 and will last until the 16th of October 2023, it is the first year of a Shemitah cycle. So out of the 7 years, it is the first year of the cycle, and also it is the year following after the 49th year, which is the 50th year. So we can conclude that most likely the year 5783, it is a Jubilee year. So that is very important for you to understand, because this counting that we made here won't fit for another 50 years. So this is very important, very significant for us, and according to this, we can conclude that we are starting here a Jubilee year. That is very important for us. However, we know that the year 5783, according to the Jews, they are not precise, because we know the Jews hid a few years from the correct calendar. So most scholars, most people do believe that they hid 210 years from their countings, because it is the years for the time they spent in exile in Egypt. So if we add 210 years to the 5783, in which we are right now, we get to 5993, and that is very important as well. So I'm going to show you some sources here for this, for me to confirm this for you guys, because it's very important that you understand this. So let's go here. They believe they are on 5783. However, we know this about the Jews. They most likely hid 210 years from the counting, because it was the moment they were exiled. So a lot of places here tell that they were exiled for 210 years. So we had 210 years of staying in Egypt that most likely they hid. They took off the countings. So many sources here points that indeed they were in Egypt for a total of 210 years. Have even more sources here, 210 years of hard labor in Egypt. 210 or 430, how long they were in Egypt for. We know that 430 is since Isaac's promise, and 210 is the moment they were enslaved in Egypt. Even here, the source 5781, the questionable Hebrew calendar, they themselves also say that there are errors in the moment that it is 210 years that they left in Egypt. So we have this branch of Judaism called Karaite. I believe that's how it pronounced in English, Karaism, Judaism. They believe they are exactly on the year 5993, starting here on September 2022, because they add the 210 years missing from the counting of the rabbis. So this branch of Judaism believes this, and they are also making videos here showing the calendar for the year 5993. And also, to confirm this even further, some months ago, I believe 1 year ago, a brother in Christ here in English, he gave information to Dr. Barry that I downloaded back then, and I'm not gonna use this now because this is very good information for us. He made a chart with all of the dates that we found in the Bible. So here, the age when they became a father, Adam, was with 130 years. So since the creation plus 130, he gave, and then he was the father of Seth, who was the father of Enosh with 105 years. And then you keep on adding this date, these numbers, these years that the Bible gives us. We reach to Noah being a father with 500 years in 1556 here, and so on. So he added the covenant until Abraham, Exodus, Solomon. He added all of the numbers that we have in the Bible here with this amazing chart, adding here the Gentile year that it was last year here, and the date that we reach to be close. It is not completely precise. There is like a small error because we don't know the months in which the things happen here, and that can vary be different in a few years. So the precise, the most approximate year that we have here is the year 5993 to be the year that we are today. So it is a very close call here that we are around the year 5993. So there are two sources here, or even more, three sources here that are showing us that indeed this year that we just entered here, the 5783 for the Jews, has everything to do with the year 5993 according to the countings from the Bible, and according to the branch of Judaism, and according to we can study here about this. So it is very likely that the year that we are right now is actually the year 5993, and that's very significant for us. So knowing that the Jubilee year is every 50 years, and counting from the day of creation, it will always fall on 50, 100, and 150 with a zero on its end. I question you right now, based on this information that you already have here, which year, if this year is to be the Jubilee year, which year most likely is the year that we are right now? Is this the year 5950, the year 6000, or the year 6050? So which year do you think that we are most likely in if this is a Jubilee year, and a Jubilee year always falls with a zero on its end? So do you believe we are 50 years away from the 6000 year, or do you believe we have already passed 50 years from the 6000 year, or do you believe we are indeed in the 6000 year? I believe that just like me here, you also think that we are on the 6000 year, because not only is the closest to the year 5993 that we have here, but also because it is a Jubilee year, and I don't think we have 50 more years to the 6th millennium, or we have passed 50 years from the 6th millennium. So yeah, most likely this year here is the 6000 year, and I'm gonna confirm that for you guys with another source of information that is amazing. So let's go here to a book called the Book of Jubilees. There is a book, it is an apocrypha It is not currently in the Bible. However, it is a good source of information, and it's called the Book of Jubilees. The book itself track the Jubilees that we have been going through since here the day of creation, the moment of creation. So let's go here and let's read together some things here in the Book of Jubilees. So I found 3 sources here of the Book of Jubilees, and all of the sources here they confirm, they show the same text. So I confirm that it is actually the Book of Jubilees here. So I'm gonna read the one that I found in Portuguese because I believe it's cleaner, and because I remember what I read in the video in Portuguese. So I'm gonna just translate here in English for you guys, but you can search this on the internet by yourself, and you're gonna see amazing stories about the beginning of the creation. So as you can see here, the Book of Jubilees. And the angel of the presence spoke to Moses according to the word of the Lord, saying, write the complete history of creation, how God our Lord completed in 6 days all his works and all that he created, and celebrated the Sabbath on the 7th day, and sanctified it for all generations, indicating it is a sign for all his works. So in this book here, we see the angel of the Lord, I believe Jesus himself could be, speaking to Moses, explaining the history since the creation. So here we see the story of Genesis being told in a different, a little bit, just a tiny different situation here, a different view, let's put it that way. And here says how he created the heavens and everything here. I found some things interesting here. By the numbers and the creations here, they are very interesting for us, for you that watch Pastor Sandy and you know the numbers and you know the gematria in the Bible. This will be amazing. So I highly encourage you to read this, and you will see something, some numbers that are amazing here, that even further completes what I'm going to be saying here in this video. But I'm going to go quickly here to the moment, to the part that it is interesting for us here. It is the moment that Adam and Eve fell. So the moment of the fall of man. So here in the 6th day he created all of the animals of the earth, the cattle, the living things. Now we hear Adam and Eve in paradise. Take a look at here. So for 6 days of the 2nd week, Adam gave the names of every white animal here. And then he saw that he was alone, and then God made a woman out of his rib, a helper. This is something interesting as well for the biblical gematria. This is the origin of woman. We're going to read this later here. Let's go quick here to this part. Here, let's read together here. In the 1st week of the 1st Jubilee, so it's counting here, Adam and his wife were in the Garden of Eden, where they had spent 7 years planting and harvesting. So Adam and Eve spent, according to this book, 7 years in the Garden of Eden. 7 years here in the Garden of Eden. So he will be given work and taught how to cultivate the soil correctly. He had planted the garden and was naked and was not aware of it and was not ashamed. He protected the garden from birds, wild and domestic animals, and gathered fruits and food, which he kept for himself and his wife. So 7 years he spent planting and harvesting the Garden of Eden. So this is very significant for us because they spent literally 7 years in paradise. 7 years in paradise that happened before the fall of mankind, before the sin. So they were 7 years in paradise, and if we take that into an account, if we start counting the Jubilees from the fall, which happened after 7 years in paradise, we start counting with we subtract 7 years that they were in paradise, and then we start with -7, and now adding 50, we go to 43, adding more 50, we go to 93, and so on until we get to 1993, 3993, 5993, eventually 6993. So, taking into account the time that they spent on paradise and counting from their fall, from the start, from the sin, literally we get to 5993 being the year for to match here the year 6000 since creation. And this is something amazing as well. So if we count the Jubilees from the fall, we get to 5993 as being the year 6000 from creation. And if they spend 7 years in paradise, what is remaining here? Is remaining 7 years in paradise. So Adam and Eve were in paradise for 7 years. If we are on the year 5993, there are 7 years in paradise that Adam and Eve has to be as well. And we know that the second Adam is Jesus himself, and Eve, the second Eve, is the bride, the church. So we are precisely here in this moment of time that also matches the 6000 years since the creation, but taking out the 7 years that they spent in paradise, we are precisely on the year 5993, which there has to be a 7 years in paradise in a place without sin, with the second Adam and the second Eve, for 7 years remaining in paradise to fulfill here the exact thing that we saw in the book of Jubilees. And this is amazing, but it doesn't stop here. It does not stop here. Because the book also says something else for us here. So, keep on reading here the book of Jubilees. We read this. He protected and he kept food from himself and from his wife. Exactly 7 years later, so exactly 7 years later, on the 17th day of the second month, after 7 years, he came to the serpent and said to the woman. The serpent said to the woman. So the serpent came to the woman and said to her, "Did God command you not to eat the fruit of the tree in paradise?" And then you know the story of the fall. So exactly after 7 years, on the 17th day of the second month, that's when the serpent deceived the woman and they eat the fruit. They sinned. So, precisely here, the book gives us a date, the date of the fall. The date of the fall happened exactly on the 17th day of the second month. The 17th day of the second month is when the fall of mankind happened. And the book of Jubilees gives us precisely that date. This is something amazing, guys, because the 17th day of the second month, all the way back then, with on the Adam and Eve moment, it was exactly the second month for Noah, which is the 17th day of the second month, the day of the flood, and also the day that grace ended. The grace that God gave to Noah ended on that day, the day of the flood, exactly the same day that the fall of mankind happened, on the 17th day of the second month. The book of Jubilees gives us precisely that date, and it's an amazing date for us to look into because the biggest changes in the world, such as the flood and the fall of mankind, sin entering the world, happened on the same date, the date of the 17th day of the second month. So I'm gonna go into depth into this date for you guys to see how amazing this is. So the 17th day of the second month is the day of the fall. That happens after a period of 7 complete years. Also, the 17th day of the second month is the day of judgment, because it is the day that the flood happened in the time of Noah's. And also, this happens when Noah is 600 years old, precisely 600 years old, on the 17th day of the second month that came the flood. And it's also the day that grace ends. And this is amazing because this also happens in a Jubilee year. And I'm going to prove to you guys this, because I didn't thought that the flood happened on a Jubilee year until I made more countings here, and it is amazing. So getting here from the information that this brother gives us, we see that Noah had Shem, his firstborn son, when he was 500 years old. So adding up everything gets to 1556 the year. But the flood came when Noah was 600 years old, so on the year 1656 since creation. And also Pastor Sandy also showed us here this information in his notes. He showed here total of the flood 1656 years. So 2 informations here that confirm this for us. So 1656, if you see like this, it is not a Jubilee year, because the Jubilee always ends with a 0. However, 1656, if we subtract the moment, the 7 years that Adam and Eve were in the garden without sin, we get to the year 1649. But the text Bible says that the flood happened exactly on the 17th day of the second month. So it was in the end of the year for us, but for them, right after the turn of the year. So it is precisely the year 1650, and that for us is precisely a Jubilee year. So the flood happened precisely on a Jubilee year, in the beginning of a Jubilee year, in the beginning of the turn of a Jubilee year. That's when the flood started. And that's very important and strong for us, because we are precisely on a day that is similar to the day of the flood. Because the year 5783, in which according to the Jews we are right now, but we saw that it is most likely the year 5993, it is indeed the first year of a Shemitah cycle. So it is the beginning of a year after 7 years, exactly when the day of the fall of mankind happened. Also, it is a Jubilee year, because the previous year was the 49th year. Also, according to what we just saw, 5993, it is the 6th millennium, the 6th day. So it is 6,000 years since the creation, because they were 7 years more in the Garden of Eve on a perfect state. So it is the 6th millennium, which also points to Noah's 600 years, when the day of judgment, the day of the flood came. Also, the 6th millennium, or the 6th day, is when Eve was brought to Adam. And I'm going to confirm this again on the book of Jubilees for you guys, but I believe the Bible himself says the same thing. So here we get this part here. This is the origin of the woman. He coated the meat rib, he formed the woman, and he brought to Adam out of his sleep. And on the 6th day he brought her to Adam who had awakened. And Adam knew her and said, Behold now, bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She will be called wife, for she was taken from her husband. And then the man and the woman will be one. So exactly on the sixth day, that's when Eve was brought to Adam. And if you understand and you watch the videos of Dr. Barry and Pastor Sandy, you will see that behold, bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. It is also a confirmation for us here, because I believe it adds up, or there's a number here, a value here that is equal to 223 or 222, which is the voice of God, the chariot of fire, and more confirmations here. I don't recall perfectly right now, but I do know that this is a very important sentence here for us that are watching for the coming rapture here. So the moment that the wife is brought to Adam is precisely on the sixth day, and we are just on the sixth day since creation. And that's when Adam, which for us is Jesus, the second Adam, will say to the church, which is Eve, was Eve back then, bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh, just like me, somebody just like me. So very important information for us here, and we are precisely here on the sixth millennium, or the 6,000 years since creation. We know that there are 7 years in paradise remaining, where Adam and Eve has to be in a place without sin to match the beginning. The beginning will be just like the end. To match the beginning, there are 7 years in paradise where Adam and Eve has to be without sin, without blemish, in paradise for 7 years. And that's precisely the moment for the 7 years of tribulation in earth, but the wedding supper of the Lamb that lasts for 7 years in heaven, in a place without sin. So that's precisely what the church is waiting here to happen. Also, the 17th day of the second month on this year that we are right now, which is a Jubilee year, and the first year of the cycle, also will be falling together with the FIFA World Cup. And why this is so important for us? Because this is the biggest televised sport or event in the world. So there will be, and there are a lot of distraction, especially in the late games in the whole world because of this. And also will be a televised thing that the whole world will be paying attention, a perfect place for the Antichrist to come and appear to deceive the whole world, because most people in the world will be watching this. So it is a perfect place, a perfect moment for the Antichrist to come and show up. And this day will get a lot of people distracted because of this, because it is falling precisely in the World Cup that only happens every 4 years. And also, to add this even further, the date, the 17th day of the second month for us, is falling in this year precisely 7 years from the last day of Tabernacles 2029. And this I'm going to show you guys here on Stellarium, just so you guys see how amazing this is. So we have here Stellarium. Let me just fix here and resize the thing. Okay, so let's go here to Tabernacles this year, which was the 8th of November. There you go here. So this is Tabernacles this year, and all the way there in 2029, Tabernacles will be falling got to return here a little bit for the moon to become full. So here on the 22nd day of October 2029, that's when the full moon will be here around Aries. That's Tabernacles for us in 2029. So this is the first day of Tabernacles. The last day of Tabernacles will be the 29th of October 2029. And if we go here to date calculator and get 29 of October 2029 and subtract 2,520 days, which is 7 years prophetically, we get to the 5th of December 2022. And the 5th of December 2022 is precisely here for us the 10th day of Heshvan. So for the Jews, they are 1 month in advance. For them is the 10th of Kislev, which is nothing for them. It's nothing, but they are 1 month in advance, as I have shown you guys in previous videos. So the correct moment is the 10th of Heshvan, which is the 10th day of the 2nd month from the time of Noah, or the 8th month for us. And that's the date when Noah entered the ark, precisely. So Noah entered the ark on the 10th day of Heshvan, the 10th day of 2nd month, and then on the 17th day, that's when the flood started. So for us, the date of Noah entering the ark is exactly 7 years from the Shemini Atzeret, which is the great reunion that happens in 2029, the last feast to be fulfilled at the end of tribulation. That gets to the day that Noah entered the ark, and then 7 days later, from 11, 12, or 12 of December 2022 for us, that's when the 17th day of Heshvan, the 17th day of the 2nd month, the moment that the flood came, the moment of the fall of mankind happens for us here in December. So even this has confirmation for us here. So, knowing all of this for this year, what can we expect at this year, this Jubilee year that we are right now, that everything like this is happening? What can we expect to happen on the 17th day of the 2nd month of this year that matches the years historically of the day of the fall? So what is a fall that will happen here? What is a judgment that will happen here? And what grace will end here? What is this date that we are expecting here? I believe you know that this date is the date of the rapture. Why? Because Satan will fall from the sky, because the judgment of the tribulation will happen in the earth, and the grace of Jesus, his 2,000 years of grace that he opened in the cross for us, that will end when the rapture happens. So the 17th day of the 2nd month is a very important moment that is just ahead of us to be paying attention, because historically, biblically, it's a very important date that changed the world as we know it 2 times before, and we know that the rapture of the church will also change the world as we know it, will change the era, for the era of the church to the era of Satan and his new world order and his 7 years of tribulation here on earth. So we know that from that point on, you can only be saved by your testimony without denying Jesus and without receiving the mark of the beast. It is not the way it is right now, as we can believe in our hearts and be saved by grace through faith. So it is not the same way that it will be after the rapture of the church. So the rapture of the church will bring a whole change in the world system as well, just like the day of Noah and the day of the fall of mankind happened as well. So this is so big, guys, that I had to make this next slide here to summarize everything that is happening for us here, so you guys understand how important and how unique this moment that we are right now is. So to summarize here, things like this won't line up for the next 50 years, even more. It won't ever line up. Why? Because this year that we are right now, it is the first year of the Shemitah cycle. So check, we are on the first year of the Shemitah cycle. And we know that every biblical transition happens in a new Shemitah cycle. So we know that the fall of mankind happened after 7 years. The flood happened after Jubilee year, after the beginning of the 7 years as well. We know that Joseph's famine also happened after the 7 years. So we know that every transition in the Bible happens after, on the first year of the new Shemitah cycle, so after 7 years, and we are precisely on that year. What else? This year is a Jubilee year, so check as well. And we know from the Bible that every Jubilee year is a year of deliverance. And if you want to see this, go read Leviticus 25, which talks about the Jubilee year. And every Jubilee year, the slaves has to be released, the lands has to be returned to the rightful owner. So we know that on a Jubilee year there is freedom. On a Jubilee year there is deliverance. So this is a year for this. What else? We are under the fig tree generation limit. So it is a limit check as well, because Israel, which is a fig tree, cannot surpass 80 years old before the end. According to what Jesus said in Matthew 24, this fig tree generation will not pass until all of the tribulation, all of the end times, all of the book of Revelation happens. So we know that Israel will turn 81 in 2029. So that's the most out limit that we can have for this to happen. One more year from now, the fig tree generation won't have in 7 years for it to go through tribulations. And 1 year from now, it won't be a Jubilee year. It won't be the first year of Shemitah cycle. So it won't line up ever again according to what the fig tree generation, according to Israel's rebirth. So this is a unique moment, which is limit. Also, we are under a favorable worldwide scenario. So right now you are seeing rumors of war for the Third World War, and you are hearing about the Great Reset planned. So the Third World War, every world war before this third one that's starting, and some already said that it started, every world war before changed the world order. So they created a new world order after every world war. And this Third World War that we are, according to some people, already in, will also change the world to a new world order in which Satan himself, the Antichrist, will run for 7 years. And this worldwide scenario is for now. It's not for the 50 years ahead. It is now. And you know that the Great Reset is a plan that they have to reset the whole economy of the world, so everybody in the world gets under the same one world economy with one world coin. So this also brings us to the next thing here that is aligning for us, which is the New World Order agenda. So check again, because we have the UN 2030 agenda. The UN 2030 agenda is M here, but it's UN, which they want an universal identification microchip for everybody in the world for travel purposes and for also identification. And they are saying for us, you own nothing by 2030 and you'll be quote unquote happy about it. So you will own nothing, you won't have possessions until 2030 according to their agenda, and they want a universal ID chip for the whole world by 2030. So the agenda is for 7 years from now, starting right away. So this is aligning perfectly as well. Otherwise, this New World Order agenda cannot be 50 years in advance than it was supposed to be. What else? We are seeing a FIFA World Cup happening, and this is also the biggest distraction worldwide event happening right now, which people will be literally watching television. They will be gullible watching TV because they are being programmed, and they will be distracted by this. So it is something that is lining up with everything like this. And with the distraction, you know, it comes the next thing, which is as it was in the days of Noah, that Jesus said as well. So as it was in the days of Noah. Why? Because we just surpassed here 8 billion of people in the world, and the amount of people that we estimate to have In the times of Noah was around 8 billion people as well, because people died very late there. People lived all the way until 500 years. So if you add up, it gets to 8 billion people as well when the flood came. The whole world is distracted by not just the FIFA World Cup, but everything happening around the Third World War, the Ukrainian war, Thailand, and economy, and bitcoins and stuff. So the whole world is distracted, just like in the days of Noah. And the 17th day of the second month as well, it is the day of the flood. So it has everything to do as it was in the days of Noah that Jesus spoke. Also, we are on the 6,000 years since creation, and we are missing 7 years that Adam and Eve were in paradise. Check as well. We are on the year 5993 since the fall of mankind, and we are missing the 7 years of tribulation here on earth. So it perfectly aligns to the 6,000 year and to the year 5993, which we are right now. So this won't ever happen again. The Revelation 12 sign won't ever happen again, as this alignment here won't ever happen again. So for it to be the 6,000 year of creation, it is either now or 50 years from now, because we had to be on a Jubilee year as well. So this won't happen again, and this is precisely giving us 7 years ahead, one for the bride Eve in paradise, and one for the world in tribulation. What else? Also the day Eve was brought to Adam. The day that Eve was brought to Adam, check, it is on the 6th day. We can expect the church to be taken to the second Adam on the 6th day as well, which is right now the 6th day from creation, the 6,000 year. What else? It is the day of the fall, the day of judgment, and the day that grace ended. Check as well, because we are expecting the 17th day of the second month to be the moment when Satan will fall from heaven, tribulation, which is judgment, will start, and the rapture will end the grace period from Jesus. And what else? We just surpassed 7 years of great signs in the skies. So if you have been watching with us and with other channels around the world, you know that we have been going through some major unique signs of all times here since the creation, as well as the Revelation 12 sign that happened on the previous cycle of 7. So the previous cycle of 7 happened some great signs that won't ever happen again in this moment of time. And this is something amazing, because it foreshadows that actually the following Shemitah cycle, which we are right now, has to be 7 years of tribulation or famine. And indeed, if you watched my previous videos, you will see that indeed the sign of famine happened in the sky right in the beginning of a new cycle. So the sign of famine happened as a third sign in the skies, happening there precisely when the Shemitah cycle changed, and precisely in the constellation of the scales, which is precisely what the third horseman, the horseman of famine, brings. So this information here is on my video on my channel here, that I hope you have watched already, or will watch after this video here, because this information here, that is 2-hour long video, is just amazing to see how the skies are aligning perfectly to what is happening on earth. This video here shows that precisely the sign of the scales, the sign for famine, started right in the change of the Shemitah cycle. So we are being told by the skies as well, not just everything that is happening on earth, but by the skies as well, that famine is to be starting right now. So guys, this is just too much for us to comprehend how big this moment is. So we cannot be 50 years wrong, otherwise not just us, the watchmen, but also the fig tree, Israel's rebirth, also the worldwide scenario, the new world order agenda, everything has to be here 50 years wrong. But all of this convergence to the same period of time points for us that on this Jubilee year that just started, in this new Shemitah cycle that just started, the biggest change in the world scenario, the biggest change in the world eras has to happen precisely when it happened before, on the 17th day of the second month, which is for us right ahead, in the moment that we saw here around December 4th. That's when it begins, the moment when Noah's entered the ark, and December 12 here. That's when the flood started. So this moment of time has to be, if it is all aligning as we are seeing here, with worldwide events, with geopolitical events, with the skies, and with Bible's prophecy and the date of the Bible where the world changed. So this has to be it for the biggest change in the world since Jesus himself, which is the rapture of the church, the great reset, the worldwide earthquake, the sudden destruction, which is the Third World War for me, and everything else that we know from the book of Revelation. This has to be it, because this date won't ever happen again the way it is right now. To be a Jubilee year has to be 50 years from now, but the generation of the fig tree, Israel, won't be 130 years old when this happens. The worldwide event will kill us way faster than 50 years from now. So the agenda will actually control everybody and change the essence, the D/N/A of everybody way before 2080, 2072. So right now is the moment where everything's aligning, and according to the Bible, the date that everything changes, the biggest changes in the world happen on the 17th day of the second month. That for us that know the correct calendar, they are not following the Jewish calendar. Here they are 1 month in advance. This happens precisely here around December 11 and 12. This is very big and very major because most watchmen as well, they are following the Jewish calendar here, and they will be unaware of this major and important event here happening around these dates of December, because for the Jews this is nothing. This is nothing happens on this moment. They are expecting Hanukkah, and some watchmen here is expecting Hanukkah as well, but Hanukkah is actually will be in January for us, not in this moment here. So they are missing some very key moments, key important moments here that we are not missing here. All of us that were watching, and you that are watching this channel here. So some major things happens, and this is something unique. This won't ever happen again the way it is right now. This won't line up again, and another Jubilee is only 50 years away. That's why I know this is so huge, so important, and so unique for all of us to be ready. All of us to be ready and believing, because this is way too much to pass on. It is way too much to pass on, and I got a confirmation from God. That's why I shown you guys the thumbnail of this, the cover of this video being this one, Jubilee wants popcorn. So what is this popcorn that Jubilee wants? So let me show you guys here. Around the 18th day of November here, around the 18th of November, that's when the thought came into my mind about the Jubilee. So I was thinking about the Jubilee here, and how this year has to be the Jubilee, and then it led me to search out the book of Jubilee, in which I have here a copy in my house. So that's when I received this, I believe from God, this insight here to search out the Jubilee. And on the 20th day of November, I woke up to a cartoon saying a phrase here in Portuguese, of course, but it is the same in English, that took my attention. I didn't know which cartoon it was. I didn't know who was saying, but I only knew that the cartoon was saying, "Thank you, Paul. You are truly a Paul, a friend." And "Thank you, friend. You are truly a friend." In Brazil, in Portuguese, that's like a meme here. That's something. How do you say? That's something funny that it is said here. I don't remember. I just remember that I woke up hearing this, and I found it funny, and it led me to search out the cartoon that was saying that. I didn't know which one it was, but I searched out, and that was the biggest confirmation for me, because it was the Woodpecker cartoon here, and the episode is 122, which I know Most of you guys already know this number is very strong, especially if you add another 2 here, and the 2 years old, 1, 2, 2, 2 here, so it's very important already, this number. And growing pains. And I cannot put all of this episode here for you guys to watch, but you guys can search on YouTube. But I'm gonna put the key moments here that I found it important. I didn't know this were. I didn't know this were the cartoon that I was searching for. I just know the information. Didn't know it was Woodpecker that said this. I didn't have it in my mind, the image, but I searched it out and then I found this in Portuguese. And then take a look, something amazing that I saw here.
Where there's a party, there must be food.
All right, Jubilee. One more chorus and then I'll feed you.
Well,
so when I found out the episode, precisely the name of the crow is Jubilee. So for me, in Portuguese, even the title of the video is Jubilee Wants Popcorn. So I found it amazing that that's how God confirmed to me to search out this information and that it is correct. You know, funny and unexpected way, because I remember this in my mind, the voice of the cartoon saying, "Thank you, friend, you were a friend. Thank you, Paul, you were Paul." I'm gonna show you guys here in a minute, but I didn't know which cartoon it was, and precisely the name of the crow, dancing crow here, is Jubilee. So out of all of the names you can give to a cartoon, especially a crow that you understand, it comes from Noah as well, because it was the first animal that left the ark and didn't return. So the crow itself, it's called Jubilee. And I'm going to show you here the phrase that I heard when I woke up on the 20th. Just go back just a minute.
Yeah?
yeah.
Thanks, pal. You're a pal. Goodbye.
Thanks, pal. You were a pal. So in Portuguese, it's funnier because I remember it in Portuguese. I watched this when I was a kid, and it is funnier because he repeats "Thank you, friend. You were a friend" 2 times, and I had this in my mind, and that's when I realized that the name of the crow is Jubilee, and it was a big confirmation for me in a funny, unexpected way, the way that we know God deals with us, and it is amazing how to see how He leads us in this way, showing us things like this. And as I was saying this in the Portuguese live stream, we had a confirmation in live stream, because a sister in chat said that Elijah was fed by crows. So I found this amazing, and I'm going to show you guys the confirmation that we had live there on the Portuguese video. It is exactly on the 1 Kings chapter 17, guys. 1 Kings chapter 17. That's when Elijah announces a great though, but he was fed here. Elijah was fed by ravens or crows here. So precisely announces a great drought, so announces the famine precisely here, and is fed by ravens or crows here, crows. And precisely on 1 Kings 17 chapter 2, so the 17th day of the 2nd month, then the word of the Lord came to Elijah. And Elijah, we know, it is the guy that was raptured. So amazing confirmation here from the sister that gave us on live stream this confirmation even further for us, confirming that this is something from God that He gives us to understand these moments of time that are so important. So just one more thing I have to show you guys here. If you saw this news here, on the 18th of November, G20 leaders agreed to a global or worldwide passport system where it will end. So world's biggest economies bet on the jab passports can save tourism. Biden world leaders signed declaration to adopt jab passports for international travel. 17th of November, world leaders agreed to implement passports for the jab. So they are preparing here clearly the world to accept a mark, to accept a identification for travel, starting by travelers, but it will spread to the whole world. They are already confirming this. They are already enforcing this, and they will enforce right after the church leaves, because this is the beginning of the mark of the beast. It's the thing that will go and change you from within. That's what they are going to give most people, which will be the mark of the beast. So we are seeing here clearly the whole world being prepared for the mark of the beast, the whole world being prepared for the Antichrist government, and we are seeing that this moment of time that we can expect to be here in the beginning of December to be critical moment of time where everything converges, and it is the last moment for this year to be relevant and important for us. So out of everything that is happening, you guys have to understand that this is a unique moment. This is something that won't happen again, like ever, and this is what we have been expecting to be the moment that changes everything in the world. I was let down after the 17th day of the first month passed, which was for us the third day of Tabernacles. I was very confident that it would happen on the 17th day of the first month, but after a couple of days, God gave me the next clue here, and I believe this is the final clue. I cannot see how this go past even further, because if it passed from here, from this year, then it cannot be 2023 or 24 or 25th, all the way until 50 years from now, which perhaps will have a similar alignment, but all that implies that not only Israel, but the whole world scenario, the whole world order agenda, the UN, everything is off by 50 years, and I don't think that that's correct. So out of all of the things that is happening, I believe this is the moment that we can be certain to expect the rapture to happen, because this is the moment in the Bible that the world has changed a lot, like the fall of man and Noah's flood. And I believe also the rapture of the church will be a great reset for the world. I believe the sudden destruction, which will be the Third World War, will happen shortly after, and the whole world will be changed by this next event. That has to happen precisely on the same day that it happened before, the 17th day of the second month. So this is a very critical moment to be living in. Thanks God that He gives us His clues, He gives us His information for us to be aware of the times and seasons in which we are in. I also understand that some brother told me in Portuguese that the journey that we have been through on the previous 7 years was like Joshua going through the 7 years cycle around the city of Jericho. So the 7 years of signs we've been through watching all of the feasts of the Lord. So we have been going through the same feasts, the same round turn for around 7 years, just like Joshua did for 7 days, going through the city of Jericho. And after the 7 turns of the city, after the 7, that's when the walls of Jericho went down. So we can expect to be the similar thing for us here, because we've been through all of the feasts of the Lord for 7 years. We understood a lot. We saw many signs in the skies happening, which didn't happen before. We learned a lot from the Word of God for 7 years, and now after the 7 years, we saw the sign of famine coming. We saw the whole worldwide agenda coming to a convergence for this year. We see the patterns here in the Bible as being the limit, such as the Israel's rebirth pattern, and we can clearly see now that this is the moment, this is the year, right in the beginning of the Jubilee year, right at the beginning of the first Shemitah cycle. That's when everything changes, and that's when everything happens. So we can be certain here that this is the moment to be expecting the rapture. Otherwise, I have no idea what else can we extract from this? Because the patterns, the convergence is always to now. And I'm very excited about this. I'm very confident about this one. I have been I have been through so many watched rapture dates before, but I believe this one definitely is the last one we have to see, because it is a pattern in the Bible that changes the whole world, and we are precisely in the year that has to happen. I really hope all of you guys that are watching here and will watch later be ready in the Lord. Get your clothes cleaner and cleaner as we get closer to the date. Be ready to meet your Maker in the heavens. Be ready to be wearing the wedding clothes to be in the wedding supper of the Lamb. Give up of everything that holds you down on this earth. It doesn't matter anymore. So release of everything that literally binds you in this earth, and be hopeful, because we are watching the end of the end times. The end of the end times, the end of our time here on earth. We're going to be watching the dates here. I can see the chat here. Many brothers are watching for today and the next few days of November. That's awesome as well. I will be watching. However, if this passes, take a look on December, because that's the moment for when the Bible literally shows us that great changes happens in the world, such as the sin of mankind and the flood of Noah. So that's the moment we can expect after here a couple of days that I know some brothers in Christ are watching us. So Maranatha to all of your brothers and sisters here in this video. God bless each and every one of you. I believe you will be ready to be with Jesus, Yahushua HaMashiach, in the air as soon as he returns to rescue the bride. I believe he will give us the popcorn that we've been waiting on. It is a heavenly popcorn. The popcorn that we have been waiting is our feast in the skies with our bridegroom there. And we are going to be waiting here until he comes for us, which is very, very soon. I'm going to be leaving here, but I hope to see all of you guys very shortly in the wedding supper of the Lamb. Maranatha, share with our brothers and sisters here this information, which is amazing and unique for us, and how God gave us the confirmation about this is even more amazing. He used a cartoon to get my attention, and now I'm giving this video to you guys. Maranatha, God bless everybody.